Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our weekly media briefing and public health update with Montgomery County Executive Mark Elridge. I'm Lorna Virgili, Hispanic Public Information Officer for Montgomery County, and joining us today is Dr. Keisha Davis, the county's health officer, Dr. James Bridgers, the Director of the Department of Health and Human Services, Mr. Sean O'Donnell, Deputy Chief of Public Health Services, as well as Dr. Earl Stoddard, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer. Our guest, very special guest today, is Maryland Comptroller Brooke Lierman. Good morning, everyone. Mr. County Executive, good morning to you.
Good morning to you and everybody else is here, and I'm really pleased to have Comptroller Brooke Lierman join us again on our media briefing. She's here to talk about Tax-Free Maryland Week, but first I want to thank her for her partnerships with us in the counties, as well as improvements she's made to the Comptroller's office over the last 2.5 years. I can sympathize with your inheriting outmoded equipment and outdated programming. It makes a big impact to have the right tools in the right place, and you're getting there. So thank you so much for that. The last time the Comptroller was on our briefing was to talk about the state of Maryland economy in January. That report was an important resource. I especially appreciated how the report highlighted the soaring cost of childcare and how this is limiting women participating in the workforce. The high cost of childcare is an issue that we continue to work on here locally, and I'm glad to see this is also a continuing priority issue for the Comptroller. Beyond childcare, inflationary costs across the board for food and goods have impacted family budgets. That includes back-to-school items. National Retail Federation has estimated that people will spend an average of $875 on clothing, shoes, electronics, and school supplies this year for elementary to high school age children. And this almost matches last year's average of $890, which is a record high. During Tax-Free Maryland Week, which began on Saturday, the state's 6% sales tax is waived on qualified items. And this is an opportunity for families to get some school shopping done while receiving a little bit of a financial break. So our Comptroller, Brooke Lierman, is joining us once again today to discuss the details of this tax holiday, and I will turn it over to you. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Mr. County Executive. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I think it's so great that you do these regularly to provide more transparency and accessibility to the work that the county is engaged in so that people can understand directly, hear from you and your officers. So thank you for inviting me on. As you mentioned, we are working hard to make sure that we can modernize the Office of the Comptroller. Since I was sworn in 18 months ago, that has been a key priority. I do remind people we're not modernizing for modernization's sake. We do it to make sure that government can work better, and that is our quest. I'm also excited because, of course, it's Shop Maryland Tax-Free Week. Every year, the second week of August, we make sure to get the word out that the sales tax, the 6% sales tax, is waived this week for clothing and shoes under $100 and the first $40 of any backpack. Now, this is a great deal for anybody who's shopping in Maryland, certainly for Marylanders, but folks from anywhere who happen to be here, we encourage you to spend your time, browsing through our stores. I also want to make sure that I encourage folks to shop local. Because when we spend our dollars in our communities, our dollars do more, go further, support our neighbors, support our local efforts as well, and support our revenues. So please consider shopping local, but this week is a great time to take advantage of whether you're shopping for back to school or just need a wardrobe refresh. Every item of clothing and shoes that's under $100 will be tax-free, and the first $40 of any backpack. Now, this includes online sales. It also includes layaway. So if you make your first payment this week for something you want to buy on layaway, you can use that sales tax-free option as well. So it's a really important way to make sure that your dollar goes farther. My final point I'll say is, we wanted to understand just how important this was to Marylanders. And so we quantified it, and we believe, looking at the numbers, we estimate that the state will lose about $6.5 million from this week, from waiving sales tax this week. But that is $6.5 million that is staying in the pockets and the pocketbooks of Marylanders and shoppers. And so it's an important investment, and it means a lot to so many Marylanders who I've talked to, and so many local retailers. So, get out and shop this week. If you have shopping to do, shop local this week and anytime if you can. Really excited to be here. Thank you so much, County Executive Elrich. And I will see you at MACo, of course, the Maryland Association of Counties conference is this week, and I'm excited to be keynoting the Women of MACo luncheon on Friday to talk to many of our other women elected officials around the state. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming here. I always appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Comptroller Bierman. Members of the media, we're going to open it up for questions at this point. Do you have any questions for the Comptroller? Any questions this morning?
Easy.
No questions? Well,
Thank
Mr.
you.
County Executive, I'm sure you want to chat with the Comptroller since we have her here while we wait for the media to activate themselves.
The only question I'd have for the Comptroller is, on the child care front, has there been any change in women returning to the workforce over the last 9 months?
Sure, it's a great question. And as you mentioned earlier, we did a State of the Economy report, the first ever report on the state of Maryland's economy that we published in January, and saw that Maryland women had left the workforce and not returned at almost double the national rate. So, of course, the General Assembly and Governor really stepped up on the Child Care Scholarship Program and providing additional funding for that. And in fact, it was so oversubscribed that we had to make room in the FY25 budget for it, which meant we had to make some cuts at the Board of Public Works several weeks ago. So we haven't done a further study yet to get data on whether the rate of women returning is increased. But we are looking at our child care system in Maryland to better understand it and better understand some of the challenges that both our child care providers are having and that parents are having in terms of, it's affordability, but it's also accessibility, right? I mean, I was talking with somebody in Southern Anne Arundel County recently, and she said, look, it's not even that I can't afford it. There's nowhere to go that's, within 45 minutes to an hour to take my child. So, there are real challenges in multiple different ways. And we're working with the Department of Labor on studying that and expect to release some more information this fall that will hopefully provide helpful information for our policymakers like you, County Council, General Assembly, and Governor to keep moving forward on our needs on childcare, because Maryland is one of the most expensive states in the nation for childcare.
Yeah, when I looked at the data on vacancies, the vacancies, are in office buildings, or at least the lack of people returning to work is pretty substantial.
Yep.
And if we want to fill some of these seats and get people back there,
yep,
this might be an area to think about as an economic incentive, economic development incentive for women who, if we can get the cost down to where it belongs, we go back to work in the offices, which obviously has benefits for retail and all the other things that, the office community talks about.
Yeah.
So I look forward to more data.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to have data before, to pass good policy, right? So, well, thanks so much for having me. Great to be here. Thank you, Lorna, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, everyone.
See you this week.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.
We'll see you. Mr. County Executive, other topics.
So nice to have the Comptroller on today. And as she said about MACo, we'll be down there this week. Montgomery County is going to be well represented at this annual convention. We get to meet with a lot of leaders from around the state that'll discuss a number of issues, childcare no doubt being one of them, climate change, energy. All these things are pretty important, as well as efforts by local counties to generate more revenues. And again, we'll talk more about this as time goes on, but looking at the model that Virginia has used very successfully to fund infrastructure that the state has not taken advantage of yet. I've talked about how our entire state is hampered by the inability to generate our own revenue from major transportation improvement projects No one, frankly, is thinking that the state's going to be able to fully restore the revenues in the budget that were there before, which actually turned out not to be there. Um, and that lack of resources just doesn't hurt Montgomery County, but it's hurt, counties all over the state. When the governor announced last year that the transportation fund was basically next to nothing, all the counties kind of realized collectively that none of us can do any kind of major transportation project without the state, because the state's the only source of large separated or dedicated funding. None of us has the ability to create dedicated funding streams that will address transportation needs. And transportation, as we know from the development community, is the number one impediment to economic development. So we, not they, I mean, say they, not we, have identified transportation as a major impediment to economic growth. And here we are stumbling and unable to do the things we need to provide transportation to support, growth in the counties. And growth in the counties obviously means, more revenues. It lets us do more things without without having to raise more general taxes. So we think there's, a lot of reason to talk about this, and it's going to certainly be one of the things I'm going to focus on when I'm down in at MACo. We've done some innovative things in Montgomery County government to help people bolster safety in our community and make Montgomery County more sustainable. And I'm pleased there's going to be sessions at this conference that are focused on our innovative public safety efforts, such as Drone as the First Responder program, as well as discussions combating climate change, addressing the need for more affordable housing, and how best to implement AI to create more efficiencies in our government. And I remind everybody that our drone program is expanding to at least 2 more parts of the county this year. And hopefully, if things go decently with revenues, we'll expand it to another couple rather than waiting a full year from now, but put it in other parts of the community where we know we can use it. Governor Moore is going to be closing out the conference on Saturday, and he will be giving the keynote address. He'll be addressing county leaders in a meeting, and we also have a meeting with the Transportation Secretary, Paul Wiedefeld, already lined up, and that's of great importance to us. So I'm looking forward to all this. On a less pleasant note, we had another incident of hateful graffiti discovered in Bethesda, and this disturbing act of hate-based vandalism that occurred in Bethesda over the weekend happened at Bethesda Elementary School, where a sign was spray painted, and also other places in the vicinity of the school with the spray painting hateful things on sidewalks and signs. And I fully understand the ongoing events in the Middle East to spur strong feelings among our residents. Hate speech and vandalism, though, are not acceptable expressions of how you feel. There are plenty of proper political outlets to say what you think. We still have free speech in this country, and people can say what they think. But this kind of act is more destructive and is certainly not helpful. Our county worked for years to create an environment of acceptance and cooperation among the diverse residents of this community. And I've been in public gatherings that were held in response to attacks on one group where many representatives of different faiths and cultures stood together, united against hate. There's a long-term value that's come to us from working together, and those who seek to inflame people's emotions and drive people apart are not helping. They're actually undermining efforts to make our community stronger and more resilient. And I'd ask, to what end? What kind of constructive change does anyone think they're going to achieve by spewing hate? Do you seriously think that spray painting that kind of message on a wall or on a sidewalk is going to change what people think? It's not easy to have these discussions, and the discussions about what's happening in the Middle East are discussions that I think are important to have, but this is not the way to have a discussion. It's not a dialogue. It's just simply meant to inflame people, and inflaming people is just flat out counterproductive. I appreciate the community's quick reporting and their help, as well as the Montgomery County Police, Montgomery County Public Schools, and Bethesda Regional Service Center, and the Urban Partnership, which collected necessary evidence and rapidly removed or graffiti. I encourage anyone with information about the perpetrators to contact the police department at the non-emergency number 301-279-8000. You can report what you know online at crimesolversmcmd.org, and you can click on P3 Tips, P3 TIPS, the link at the top of the page, or call 1-866-411-8477. Tips with information leading to the arrest of an individual may be eligible for a reward ranging from $250 up to $10,000, and tips, of course, remain anonymous. Hate has no place in this county, and I pledge to continue to work with our partners, including MCPS, to make sure we educate our community about the harm that such divisive language causes our neighbors and friends. Other troubling news of a different nature. I want to talk a little bit about an issue that's impacting families across the nation, as well as here in Montgomery County. You may have already heard news reports about the Gold Bar scam. This week, prosecutors, Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office moved forward with criminal charges against 5 suspects tied to scamming 7 local victims. The amount stolen in these scams is staggering. It's estimated that close to $3 million has been lost by the first round of victims going back to January of 2023. The losses still being investigated bring the number of victims close to 20 now. For many people, this is their life savings that are suddenly gone. Yesterday, the Montgomery County Police Department joined the state's attorney's office and federal partners like the FBI to ask the public to help us with the threat. If they are aware of any threats that are family members, please bring them to the police department. And our older adults are especially vulnerable to these scams. Sounds too good to be true. It probably is too good to be true. In this scam, thieves try to pressure victims to convert money into gold by insisting they're representing the federal government, or that their money is at risk of being stolen by cyber criminals. The sad reality is that the victims are on the phone with criminals who fully intend to actually steal their money. So some people are deceived about this. I've actually seen a number of postings on internet advertisements talking about the government's going to get rid of your currency and you need to change your currency to gold now. There's a lot of effort to get people into what can be very shaky transactions, and nobody's about to abolish the U.S. currency. So if anybody tells you that, they're more than a little bit mistaken. Authorities stress that to protect yourself from gold bar scams and from scams in general, do not answer phone calls if you don't recognize the number that's calling you. And do not click on pop-up ads that come across any of your screens on your phone or on your laptops or home computers. Federal authorities said that the federal government will never ask you to make large withdrawals or odd transactions for things like gold, gift cards, or cryptocurrencies. You will never get that message from the government. These scams target older adults who tend to hide their losses from family members. Money lost in these schemes is very hard to recover because it's often quickly spent or laundered by the thieves. It's encouraging to know that because of the work done by MCPD's fraud division and the state's attorney's office, we're catching and charging suspects and raising awareness so other families don't fall victim to this scam. But if you believe you've been victimized, call MCPD's non-emergency number 301-279-8000. The Office of Consumer Protection is another trusted source for information about protecting your identity and money from thieves. The office just launched the Consumer Connection podcast to help the public identify and report suspicious behavior. And now switching into happy things again. This year, 8 Montgomery County athletes qualified and competed in Paris for Team USA. 5 of these local athletes earned medals, including 2 Montgomery County athletes in the same event. Aaron Gemmel and Katie Ledecky both won silver in the 4x200 meter freestyle relay. Aaron has already returned to the county to visit her neighborhood swim team, Potomac Woods, and to share her Olympic experience with the kids there. And Katie had a history making Olympics by winning her 9th gold medal in 4 games and the 14th overall Olympic medal. Her newest gold medals came in the 1500 and 800 meter freestyle, and she's the most decorated U.S. female athlete in history. And she carried the nation's flag in the closing ceremony. In the final days of the Olympics, wrestler Helen Maroulis of Rockville made history by becoming the first woman to win 3 Olympic medals in wrestling. Potomac sprinter Masai Russell took gold in the 100-meter hurdles, and a Gaithersburg teenager, Quincy Wilson, earned a medal by becoming the youngest Olympian to compete on the track ever, breaking a record more than 100 years old. The Bullis student ran in the qualifying race for Team USA before being replaced in the gold medal race of the 4x400 meter relay. Another athlete, Thea Lafond, grew up here in the county and competed for her home country. Thea was the only person from Dominica competing on the track in Paris, and she won a gold medal in the triple jump. She was born in Dominica, but moved to Silver Spring when she was 5. She went to John F. Kennedy High School and competed at the University of Maryland. If Maryland were an independent nation, it would have earned 11 medals, just like Kenya and Sweden. And Montgomery County is proud to lead the state with so many notable athletes competing on the world stage. Seeing our local athletes competing in the Olympics can be inspirational to many young adults and children in our community who have similar Olympic dreams. And for us older folks, the Olympics can provide a motivation to learn a new sport or activity, as well as simply getting us to live healthier and a more fit life. As a county, we remain committed to offering opportunities, classes, and programs and hundreds of sports, arts, and hobby activities. This week, our rec department opened registration for fall programming. The recreation department's offering hundreds of programs and activities to promote active and healthier lifestyles. These include aquatics, fitness, sport, visual and performance arts, therapeutic recreation, and adult 55 plus programming, and more. And the upcoming season of activities features a new waitlist option through the county's registration system. We didn't have this before. For the first time, participants will have the opportunity to be added to a waitlist for select activities that are full right now. Once a space becomes available, participants will receive an email and will have 48 hours to accept or reject an enrollment offer. If the time expires or they decline the offer, participants will be removed from the wait list and they'll go down the list. This feature will help provide more access to our most popular programs and activities. And we will put registration link to these programs in the chat and encourage you to share that with your readers, viewers, and your social media followers. Finally, COVID cases are on the rise. So a little bad news on the COVID front. The number of hospitalizations rose significantly within Montgomery County, meaning more people are getting sick and requiring care. As of yesterday, there were 48 patients hospitalized with COVID-19 in Montgomery County. That's about the same number hospitalized reported statewide during last May. And statewide hospitalizations reached 245, including 21 people in intensive care. Numbers haven't been this high since February. Numbers have been steadily climbing over the past several weeks. There's a new variant out there. It's apparently spreads pretty easily. Until we see the numbers recede, I please urge everyone to think about the elderly and people who are most immunocompromised. They face the most danger in getting gravely ill. COVID-19 is still more deadly than the flu, and the vaccines do suppress the likelihood of getting a fatal case of COVID. New vaccines targeting the new variant should be available very soon, and we continue to encourage people to get vaccinated and keep yourselves as safe as possible for your own sake and for the sake of those around you. I also want to reiterate the importance of staying up to date on the vaccines and washing hands frequently and staying home when people are sick. Before I take questions from the media, I'm going to give our health team an opportunity to share any updates they'd like to share right now. So take it away, health team.
Good morning, Mr. County Executive. Nothing from me this morning. I almost said afternoon, but I'll turn it over to Mr. O'Donnell and Dr. Davis for their updates.
I don't have anything to add right now. Mr. County Executive, thank you for sharing our message out to the public about our concerns with the current COVID transmissions.
Yep, nothing additional for me. I will kind of remind folks as people are wrapping up their summer travel that this is a time to take precautions. If you're going to be in a crowd with a lot of folks, you might want to consider wearing a mask or on an airplane. As people are, as we see the COVID numbers rising, and folks are interacting with more folks that you're not typically interacting with. If nothing else, just to protect yourself so you can enjoy your vacation without being sick.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Dr. Stoddard, do you have any updates?
No updates for me.
Okay, we're going to open it up now for the members of the media. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Any questions for the public officials this morning? No questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I guess we're done for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. Mr. County Executive, have a great afternoon. And we'll see you next time. Stay safe.
Yes, you will. Take care. Bye.
Back of your mind that you'd like to try, I think it's always worthwhile considering whether it's a possibility, and usually the answer is yes if you work to make it possible. So in addition to this teaching career, I wouldn't call it a career. I'm a volunteer teacher, but as I mentioned to you, we came home from Thailand in March of 2020. The pandemic was waiting on our doorstep when we came, and that opened up a new opportunity. Of course, it was a terrible time for people all around the world, but it was a time to stay at home, and that opened up